the first product from the Onix Audio I reviewed. Thank you so much Audio Geek Tour Group for lending me the Alpha info review. Perhaps I'm still quite new to the source side of things, but I would love to hear your thoughts and improvements I can add to my reviews about sources such as dongles, DAC amps, and DAPs. Before going into the review, perhaps I should add a disclaimer here, as the Onix XI1 Alpha is a 2-unit. But not to worry, as no one is paying me to say anything good or bad about them, and this review is 100% my own opinion and experience with the XI1 Alpha. The unboxing experience is quite okay, as the packaging is quite small and simplistic. Inside of the box you can find the unit itself, and underneath there is an accessories partition that reveals your user manual and USB C to C cable. Sadly, you will need to purchase the case separately. With that, concludes the unboxing part of the Onix XI1 Alpha. Plugging them in for the first time, it works as you would expect a dongle would. However, when switching the device to my DX160 DAP, I find the Alpha does not light up. I've seen this topic brought up multiple times when the Alpha was first released, as it seems like the Alpha can be quite picky with the source it is connected to. You should probably scour the forums for compatibility of the XI1 Alpha with your phone or DAPs. One thing I can say for sure that it works with Windows and Samsung Galaxy A53. Although miles apart, I think Onix is quite consistent with their design language. For me, they still share somewhat of a resemblance to the XM5 I tried a while ago. While the box packaging is somewhat kitsch, the Alpha themselves look somewhat fancy with matte black color and gold accents. On the back, the Alpha also has a patch of leather inlay. Speaking of leather, the leather case is quite okay. I think they use either finished genuine leather or just genuine leather. Or maybe they fooled me and it is actually a faux leather case. I'm not really sure. While the case will probably help with scratch and dent protection, I think they are still quite slippery when the Alpha is inside. I mainly use the Alpha in non-oversampling filter and in high gain. For me, the sound of the Onix XI1 Alpha is pretty okay. It drives most IM with ease. The sound is rather warm with a relaxed treble to them. The bass is quite tame, as I think that it has way less bass compared to my Fidelizer modded DX160. Speaking of which, switching on and off from the DX160 to the XI1, the Alpha is noticeably warmer and slightly darker. The bass is also noticeably less, as it sounds way punchier and thumpier on the DX160 instead of the Onix XI1 Alpha. The DX160 is also a little bit brighter and wider in the soundstage department. What shines in the comparison is the background noise between the Alpha and the DX160. Perhaps it is very unfair to compare the two, as the DX160 is basically an all-in-one solution. And there is another downside to the Alpha that I personally think is a big deal. But I digress. Back to the noise thingy. The DX160 3.5mm jack can be quite noisy when you are messing with them, while the Alpha has none of that issue. Perhaps if you have a good hearing and are quite sensitive to the noise, you can still find noise with the Alpha, but I think the Alpha sounds quite clean in the noise department. While it is also completely unfair to compare the two, as one is barely $20 and the other is $100 something, I think it is quite interesting to compare dongles between prices, especially for those who are upgrading from something like the Fios GA11, 7Hz 71, and many other sub $25 dongles. The first thing that is quite noticeable is that the Alpha has a 4.4 balance jack. Gain modes and volume control. But how do they sound? The Alpha overall sounds a little bit bassier. The upper mids and the treble is a tiny bit smoother. I hear no difference in the soundstage area, but I feel like the layering is slightly better with the TU99. The other win for the Alpha is perhaps that it has a lot more power compared to the TU99. But at the same time, I also like the TU99 as it sounded clean. As previously mentioned, I think the downside of going for dongles is that it is basically another thing dangling from a quite important port on your phone. Yes, USB Type-C and the Lightning connector are quite durable, but due to the unpredictable nature of real life, a dongle is a bit iffy for me. Plus, it is always good to have a separate battery to drain when commuting or wandering about. The Onix XI1 Alpha is a budget dongle DAC from the brand Onix Audio. While I might be a little late to the party, I think the Onix Alpha is an okay DAC amp for those who are looking for a more analog, warm-ish, bassy sound, or to be paired with some of the colder, brighter sets. Priced around $100, I think the Onix Alpha is very priced. From the design perspective, the XI1 Alpha is quite a stunner. Full metal body with an acrylic or glass OLED screen to show information, and a little bit of leather on the backside. The operations are quite painless. If you are having a hard time with the operations, you could always install the app for settings. As I feel like apps annoys me quite a bit, I did not install them and just use them right out of the box. The app is called Addict Player by Shanling. Perhaps I should install the app for checking the firmware version of the unit I reviewed. But when I did, it turns out that the app is basically just for setting the alpha. I have a little bit of notes on the app interface design as they seem quite half-baked, and I could only wish that the app allows installation of firmware updates. That is it. That is my review of the Onix Alpha. Do you own the Onix XI1 Alpha? What are your thoughts on them? Let me know in the comment section down below. Huge thanks to Audio Geek Tour Group, especially Mr. Sandeep, Mr. Harmoko, and Mr. Novan. Not to forget all of you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for your continued support. Have a great day.